الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم للذين يؤلون من نسائهم تربص 4 أشهر فإن فاءوا فإن الله غفور رحيم إن عزموا الطلاق فإن الله سميع عليم صدق الله. In our previous session, we were discussing the ayat regarding taking an oath in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we discussed some ahkam, some commands, some rulings regarding that. One type of oath that used to be taken at the time of Jahiliyyah, at the time of ignorance, and thereafter also continued, and which is applicable, is that at times a person would take an oath which would be called ila. Ila, as this ayah is saying, لِلَّذِينَ يُؤْلُونَ مِن نِسَائِهِمْ, refers to the concept of ila. What is ila? Ila is that in Jahiliyyah, and this was a custom amongst the Arabs, that a person would take an oath that they would not have any sexual relationship with their spouse. So the husband, for example, takes an oath that I take an oath that the husband says this, that I will not have any sexual relationship with my wife, with my spouse for the next 4 months, for example. 4 months or more. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the ahkam regarding this. As we mentioned before, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran Kareem, the tafsir, the details of the ahkam that we follow, most of the ahkam, the details, we will not find in the Quran Kareem. You can read throughout the entire Quran Kareem and you won't find the exact details of the salah, for example. Aqimus salah will come, ruku' will come, sajda comes, but which one comes first? Which one comes second? What's the exact details? What's the exact sequence? None of that comes. Zakah, you'll see atu zakah, how much zakah to give, what are zakatable items, etc. Many of these details are not mentioned. Masarif are mentioned, the avenues of zakah are mentioned. But when we see many masail when it comes to mu'ashara, mu'ashara meaning communal masail, things to do with society, with social etiquette, these Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned details. Mirath, for example, inheritance, very detailed, it has been mentioned. The ayat regarding writing down a person's dun, a person's debts, these have been mentioned in details. And over here, the issue of talaq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in many places has mentioned the issue of talaq, and detailed ahkam of talaq have been mentioned in the Quran Kareem. Obviously, the hadith have more tafasir, more details, but compared to other ahkam of the Quran Kareem, or compared to other ahkam of fiqh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned much details regarding, for example, divorce. So over here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, regarding this oath that a person takes, that لِلَّذِينَ يُؤْلُونَ مِن نِسَائِهِمْ, for those that do ila, yani those that take this type of oath, is تَرَبُّصُ 4 أشهر, that the maximum amount of time that a person can go on like this is for 4 months. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has stipulated 4 months. That either within the 4-month period a person breaks this oath. Why? Because it is part of the huquq, the rights of zawjiyah, that a person has relationships with his wife, with his spouse. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that a person has a maximum of 4 months to stay upon this qasam, this oath of theirs. If a person does not take back this oath by breaking it and giving kafara for that oath, then automatically one talaq, one divorce occurs, and this will be an irrevocable divorce. And when we discussed about divorce, that there are 2 types. One is a revocable, that a person can take back their spouse after this divorce. In Arabic they call it raj'i. And the other type of divorce is irrevocable, that a person cannot take it back. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hukum over here is that if a person takes this type of oath, that I will not have any relationship with my wife, with my spouse for 4 months or more, if a person takes this, then the hukum of shara is that a person has 4 months. Either within the 4 months they take this back, they reform what they have said, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the sharia, automatically one irrevocable divorce will take place. فَإِن فَاءُوا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. If a person takes back this oath, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forgiving, yani for the wrong. If a person does not have an inclination towards a spouse anymore, then it's incorrect to keep her in his zawjiyah, to keep her in his marriage and make her suffer in this way. This is a psychological suffering. This is an emotional way a person can harm the other person. فَإِنْ فَاءُوا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ. Take this back. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forgiving. Rahim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is merciful. وَإِنْ عَزَمُوا الطَّلَاقَ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. And if a person is bent upon this, that they have resolved in their mind that no, I will give a divorce, then فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is most hearing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is most knowledgeable. Now from here, as we said, many of the ahkam of talaq will begin. So I thought it might be pertinent that we will discuss maybe some preliminary points regarding talaq, and thereafter, inshallah, we'll read the ayat in the next coming sessions, and the details, inshallah, will be discussed. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala considers that talaq is considered to be abghadul mubahat, that the most disliked thing from those things which can be done is talaq, to give divorce. Why? Because of the social perils and the social effects that it carries with it. That a person, after having a very close relationship with someone, a relationship with a person would not share with anyone else, and if they are salimut taba', their nature is correct, they have a normal nature which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created in a person. After having such a close relationship, then a person leaves that person. So there's obviously a psychological effect, there's depression that people go through, etc., etc. That's one. And then if, for example, there are children involved, then the issue becomes even more severe. That what happens to the lives of these children, a child growing up in a household where divorce is taking place, there is a very different environment that child goes through. Now, this isn't something which is necessarily only restricted to Muslim in Islam. Rather, this is a phenomenon that everyone in every society can attest to. So the situation that comes about over here through divorce, it's not only an individual situation. That person said that this is my life, I can do whatever I want. No, rather it's something which affects not only yourself, but families and even a community at large. That when a child is going through or their tarbiyah, their nurturing is being done in such an environment, such a domestic environment, then these things play out in their future as well. The way they also interact with others currently at the present, and how this will have an everlasting effect rather in their minds, because this is what they saw. Now, normally what happens in divorce situations is that a person doesn't give a rose with the written divorce, right? Rather, it comes down in a very ugly manner. But it takes time until it reaches that. So there's an entire environment that's built up. There's a certain environment that is in the house for sometimes weeks, sometimes months, sometimes years. Now the child is observing all this. The child is hearing all this. The child is seeing all this. This is what the child learns what marriage is about. Unfortunately, this is what the child sees. So that is what the child learns, and these things come out even when this child thereafter gets married. There's no longer a child, but the effects of what he saw, what she saw, what they observed, many a times these things show in their own dealings with people. How they deal with people at this moment, as their children, as they're growing up, as they're teenagers, and then eventually as they become young adults and adults. So this is something which, so the issue of divorce is something which is not restricted to a person's personal life only. Rather, it has an effect on families, on other individuals, and on the community at large. With that said, the Sharia does understand that at times certain relationships do not work together. That this is also a reality, that sometimes two people cannot come together. That they are not meant for each other, although they have come into this contract which is binding upon them. But Sharia also does realize that sometimes the wrong choice has been made, or the wrong two people have also been partnered. Hence the institution of talaq, that if it comes down, that person should separate their ways. But there are steps before a person gets to talaq. Yani talaq is what we would call the final straw. Rather, the Quran Kareem has given steps of how to make islah and reformation of a marriage. That starts with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving nasiha, that a person should give wa'ad, nasiha, a person should advise, for example. They should meet with others, have an arbitration that is done, a mutual party can be called, etc., to settle these disputes, etc., etc. When none of these avenues, none of these things work, then the final way out, if you would say, would be talaq and divorce, and the two people and the spouses, they part their ways, and they leave in amicable way, in immature way. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, although as we say that talaq is something which is not considered to be the best of options, however at times it becomes wajib. Fuqaha mentioned that at times it becomes necessary for a person to give talaq. Who, for example, that person who has this in their mind, that look, I'm just going to keep this lady in my marriage and I'm not going to take care of her. I will not pay her expenses. I will not take care of her as I should be. Rather, I'll make her life hell for her, etc. Things we hear them say. So in these situations, the Shariah's hukum is that person is necessary, it's wajib for them to separate their ways. At other times, it is completely impermissible to give talaq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and as we said, Sharia realizes that this is a certain need that is also there, that at times certain relations don't work out. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this haqq, this right to the man. That the man, the husband, he's the one that will give the divorce. In this, there are many hikam, many wisdoms which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the ulama discuss that why has this haqq, why has this right only been given to men. But it may be pertinent that we understand that not every party in every relationship holds the key to what we can say the leadership role. This is a reality in this world that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given certain power to certain people. That not everyone shares the same in the equal power. Right? For example, in a country there will be one president, one prime minister, there will be one king. What does this do? That this ensures that there is a certain system. Now, if every person says that I want to be the president, this country is not going to work. Coming down, if everyone says I want to be the governor, that's also not going to work. If everyone says I'm going to be the mayor, that's not going to work. In each company, everyone says I'm the supervisor, I'm the manager, I'm the boss. That's not going to work. There are certain people who have been given certain responsibilities. Now, those rights that have been given, they come with responsibilities. So like that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is also a relationship, this is also an institution that of a family. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the husband the responsible person. Responsible means that they are the ones who will be taken to task for whatever needs that have to be fulfilled. Now, because this responsibility has been put upon the husband, then they have been given certain rights as well. The people who are given extra responsibility, they at times are also given extra rights, as you can say, so that they can fulfill their responsibilities in the best of ways. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given this responsibility and to take care that the family moves in the correct manner, in the way how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the shara, expects it to be. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also given this right now to the husband to decide whether it's time that they should separate or they should not separate. That will this ship sail together, will this ship not sail together. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has entrusted the man with this in his infinite wisdom. Why do we say this? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of man. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that created man and woman. So each genus, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put in their nature, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created each individual or each genus, we can say, with certain traits and with certain things that they are better in than others. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created man with what is called rationale, that they keep their emotions usually behind the rationale. Now these are things which are in general. Not every time, not every individual, this may be the case. But whenever law is given at a general level. Right? For example, this road that we have, Bloomingdale Road, the speed limit is 40. So whether you've been driving for the last 10 years or the last 10 days, everyone has to follow that speed limit. Whether you say that I'm the most experienced driver and the other person, he's been in 10 accidents, everyone has to follow the same law. Law doesn't change from individual to individual. Rather, when it's given at a general level. Like that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at a general level has also given this responsibility to men. As it is expected that a man should have more rationale than emotions that should precede that rationale. In this light, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also has the institution of talaq as divorce, that this is also looked as a necessity, and as we mentioned, that this is a final resort for when a relationship does not work out. Make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect the marriages, the nikah of everyone in this society, and this is becoming something more rampant, unfortunately. So this is very important, that it should start with giving nasiha, and even before the nikah starts. How should a person come into marriage, etc. So these are things that we should keep in mind and advise others also, inshallah.